So on to race 2, and Adrian Churchill and Stuart Clark both on the front row of the grid. They get a very good start as they charge up towards Ritchie's for the first time. We ride on board in the BMW 120 diesel. The ex-Mini Challenge racer Keith Isett heads down the straight and up towards the right-hander at Ritchie's for the first time. The Vauxhall Corsa VXR directly ahead of us is Kevin George. As they turn through the right-hander, Kevin George leading his class in the early stages of this one. And the race leaders overall make their way in towards the right-hander at Sear, with, by the look of things, one of the Thorney Motorsport cars having grasped the lead of the race. That must be Stuart Clark that's taken the overall lead of the race from Adrian Churchill in second place. There is car number 31, our camera car, Keith Isett, as we go back on board with him. Another BMW 120 diesel directly to his right. That's the car in the hands of Jordan Witt. But Clark it is that leads as they come down into the brake area for the S's for the first time. There's Alex Ashby, he sits there in third place in the second of the two Thorney Motorsport Astra VXRs that we have in the field, but it's an Astra 1, 2, 3, 4 at the moment. The first non-Astra in the field is that of Dan Malone in the set, who sits there in fifth position. So out of the bomb hole comes our race leader Stuart Clark. We've seen him racing minis previously as well. Through the right-hander at Corham they go. It's Stuart Clark that leads. Adrian Churchill is there in second position. The train of cars feeds their way out of Corham, and all over the grass is Adrian Churchill. Bumbles across the grass. Thankfully now the tarmac that little bit drier, however the grass still very wet indeed, and it'll be interesting to see whether he's lost places as a result of that. As they head down the centre straight, Stuart Clark still leads. Adrian Churchill hardly lost any time at all. Must have gone across the grass very quickly and rejoined indeed. Over the start-finish line to complete this lap of the race, and Churchill now will be very keen indeed to try and make amends for that error. We ride on board with Keith Isett, on board one of the Class B BMW 120 diesel. There's Stuart Clark in the lead of the race. The rally crossing, Adrian Churchill in second place, 4 times a race winner, 4 out of 4 for him so far this season in the Courtney Sport car. And it's this weekend at Snetterton where we've seen the introduction of the success ballast that we saw in 2009. So Adrian Churchill, having won the first race, is carrying 45 kilograms of ballast on board for this one. In towards the S's they go. It looks like there might be a car just have gone off in the distance there. We'll try and work out who that is in a moment. But with that 45 kilos of ballast on board round Snetterton that's very heavy on the brakes, it's Keith Isett that's put the BMW into the barriers on the exit of Sear Corner. He will rejoin. That's our camera car. Clark still in the lead of the race. He finished second in that first race, so he's got 36 kilograms of ballast on board. Alex Ashby, who's there in third position at the moment, he's got 27 kilograms of ballast on board, and the local man, Ryan Bensley from Kings Lynn, in the blue Vauxhall Astra VXR, he's carrying 8 kilograms of ballast. We ride on board with Keith Isett. Let's have a look at the replay of what happened. He turns into Sear Corner. The nose of the car grabs the apex perfectly. Then too much power too early. The back end starts to break away. And on the very wet grass, Keith Isett travels a long way before eventually making contacts with the barrier and will rejoin the race, albeit having lost a couple of places in the process. Well, real drama in a Sport Maxx Cup. Adrian Churchill off the circuit and out of the race. Well, welcome back. We've just seen Adrian Churchill head off the circuit. We're now looking at the lead battle in Class B. It's being led by Kevin George in the Vauxhall Corsa VXR at the moment. From these two cars fighting away, Jordan Witt and Andre McGee. There is poor old Tim Saunders, car number 11, a new car to the Sport Maxx Cup, a new driver to the Sport Maxx Cup this year. And there is poor old Keith Isett. That car clearly has sustained damage, crabbing as it makes its way up the pit lane. And I fear that may spell retirement for the BMW 120 diesel. Here's the replay of Adrian Churchill. Let's have a look what happens up towards Ritchie's you go. A squeal of brakes, and all of a sudden, almost at unabated speed, Adrian Churchill thumps the barriers with perhaps not as much force as there could have been ultimately, but all not well with the car, and the driver out and thankfully okay. As a result of that, well, Stuart Clark continues to lead. Now look at the battle for second and third place. Alex Ashby celebrating his 21st birthday this weekend, being caught and closed down by number 7, Ryan Bensley, the 25-year-old from Kings Lynn, the 2008 Stock Hatch champion. Kevin George off the circuit, so all not well with the Vauxhall Corsa VXR as well. Hopefully he'll make his way back up onto the track, and that has probably handed the lead of the class at this stage to Jordan Witt and Andre McGee as they continue to fight over their relative positions in Class B. Class B, of course, caters for those cars with between 131 and 160 brake horsepower per tonne. The more powerful cars, these being the Vauxhall Astra VXRs amongst others, Alex Ashby and Ryan Bensley, have between 160 and 210 brake horsepower per tonne. Down the Revit straight they go, all of course running the Dunlop Sport Maxx Production Cup tyre, a standard road tyre, and great racing it makes as they're side by side coming in towards the S's. Ashby on the left-hand side of the circuit should just about hang on to second place. Ryan Bensley there in third place. That car having been away to Courtney Sport in between the Rockingham and the Snetterton meetings for further work to be done, and it's certainly proving very well indeed. Great drive out. All of a sudden Alex Ashby seems to lose momentum. Through into second place goes Ryan Bensley. Still a Vauxhall Astra 1, 2, 3. But now it's Bensley in second place in the Dunlop Race Academy car. Alex Ashby down into third position. And of course this squabbling in second and third place is very much playing into the hands of the race leader, Stuart Clark. Still in the lead, pulling away all of the time, increasing that margin between himself and the best of the rest. We ride on board in the Seat Leon Cupra with Dan Malone. Out of the Russell chicane he comes. It's got the Nissan 370Z behind him. Nissan being in the hands of Craig Curry. Thysett is making his way back in towards the paddock area. You can see the damage to the rear of that car as a result of the impacts to the barriers. Jordan Witt and Andre McGee continue to squabble over the lead of the class. Let's have a look at a replay. Witt in the lead of the class, Andre McGee there in second place, and a spin for Kevin George. He was in third at the time in the class, spins the car, somehow manages to keep it out of the barriers, and will rejoin the circuit, albeit a little bit further away from those cars he was battling with earlier. Through Coram comes number 9, Dan Malone. We saw him out in a Class C Peugeot, and he runs wide, heading round through Coram. All over the grass goes the man from Conway in North Wales. The 19-year-old spins through 360 degrees in the EJM prepared machine and rejoins the circuit. But that's certainly allowed the Nissan that's in the hands of Craig Curry, the former motorcycle racer, to feed his way through and gain a position. So Craig Curry now up into fourth place. Here's the second place car, Ryan Bensley, still continuing to press on, and that is a very smoky looking Vauxhall Corsa VXR in the hands of Kevin George. We saw that spin a few moments ago, and clearly problems with the Corsa going to spell the retirement for Kevin George. Bensley pressing on still in second position, starting to reel in now as well. Our race leader Stuart Clark is really being caught in the closing stages of this one. Through the Russell chicane they go. Clark still leading, Bensley reeling him in all of the time as they accelerate down the centre straight once more. Over the start-finish line now we'll go to complete yet a further lap. We ride on board now with Dan Malone. We can see he just misses the apex at Coram. The car then just runs wide, hits what is still damp grass, and then 360 degrees there through shot goes Craig Curry's car, gains fourth place. Dan Malone will rejoin, albeit down in fifth. Clark still in the lead. You can see just how much Ryan Bensley is keeping him honest. Down the Revit straight once more they go. The local man keen for a win at Snetterton from just up the road at Kings Lynn. 25 years of age is Ryan Bensley. Stuart Clark, with only a couple of seasons racing experience behind him, heads into the braking area for the S's. It's first time out in the Sport Maxx Cup this season for Stuart Clark. As we said earlier, hopefully we'll see a fair chunk of Stuart Clark this season in the Dunlop Sport Maxx Production Cup, because he's doing very well indeed in his debut weekend of the 2010 season. Through Coram, up towards the Russell chicane, he will very shortly go into the braking area for Russell. Well, we've only had one winner in the Dunlop Sport Maxx Production Cup this year, that being Adrian Churchill. Was certainly either way in this race destined for a new winner. Will it be Stuart Clark? Will it be Ryan Bensley? Over the start-finish line the two of them go onto what should be their penultimate lap of the race this time through. There is number 23, that's Craig Curry, the former motorcycle racer, the waste director from Grantham. He's going well so far this weekend, fourth place currently. And he's about to put a lap on the far more experienced Focus ST in the hands of Mick Wiedner. There goes Dan Malone as well. Following his spin, he's dropped down into fifth position. Out of the Russell chicane he goes, and onto the start-finish straight to start his penultimate lap. Well, we've got further back markers that will need to be contended with this time through. I think Stephen Doby, car number 29, new to the Sport Maxx Production Cup this weekend, is going to have to watch his mirrors, because Clark is there in the lead of the race and won't want to be compromised at all. Round the outside of the back marker he goes. Well, poor old Stephen Doby couldn't really position the car anywhere else. He moved as far out of the way as he possibly could, but Stuart Clark race meter met him in exactly the wrong place there. That's allowed Ryan Bensley to close yet further as they exit the bomb hole and come up towards Coram. Bensley's done a very good job of hunting down the advantage that Stuart Clark had built up in the early stages of this race. And as they head through the Russell chicane and over the start-finish line very shortly, it's certainly going to be a two-way battle for what will be round 5 of the 2010 Dunlop Sport Maxx Production Cup. Over the start-finish line they go, and on to the final lap of the race. Clark still leading, Bensley there in second place. Here's the 4th place car of Craig Curry, because we still have, let's not forget, Alex Ashby sitting there in 3rd position in the second of the 2 Thorny Motorsport Astra VXRs, the first of which still continues to lead, albeit by a very slender margin indeed, out of Sear Corner, down the Revitt Straight for the final time. Stuart Clark under a whole host of pressure from Ryan Bensley, who's sitting in the slipstream, then jinks out to the right-hand side of the circuit and is going to run side by side as they head down the Revitt Straight for the final time of asking. Clark has the left-hand side of the circuit, or give him the inside line, but Ryan Bensley is going to take the lead, or is he? Very brave on the brakes, both of them will have to be. They turn through the left-hand section, then up to the right-hander. Bensley has the lead. Clark round the outside, all over the curbs goes Ryan Bensley, loses momentum, and Stuart Clark somehow hangs on to the lead of the race through the bomb hole for the final time. Bensley had done everything to get himself in a position to try and grasp the lead of the race, thumping the curbs just that little bit too much, put the car up onto 2 wheels, and he lost momentum as a result. So they now come through Russell for the final time into the braking area. Stuart Clark from Ryan Bensley, both of them looking for their first victory of the 2010 Dunlop Sport Maxx Production Cup. They head towards the start-finish line, and it looks so it is going to be Stuart Clark that claims the honours here, up towards the checkered flag. Stuart Clark wins by just a car's length or so from Ryan Bensley, who comes through into second place. We wait the arrival of Alex Ashby, who should come through in 3rd place. That's the lap car of Stephen Doby in his first weekend of racing in the Sport Maxx Production Cup. Here comes Alex Ashby, but he's been caught in the final stages because Craig Curry in the 6-cylinder Nissan 370Z has very much reeled in the turbocharged 4-cylinder Vauxhall Astra. Up towards the start-finish line, it will be Alex Ashby that goes through and claims 3rd position from Craig Curry, who comes through in 4th place. We await the arrival of the Class B battle as well, because that is still raging. Jordan Witt in the BMW 120 diesel is still not fended off the attentions of the Russian driver from Siktivka, that being Andre McGee in the Mini. Through the right-hander at the bomb hole, the 2 of those go. Jordan Witt still having to work very hard indeed. We've seen these 2 cars battling throughout this weekend. We saw them battling throughout the Rockingham weekend as well, that kicked off the 2010 Sport Maxx Production Cup season. In towards the Russell chicane, the 2 of them go. Jordan Witt looking for a victory here in Class B if at all he can, for the cars with between 130 and 160 brake horsepower per tonne out of the Russell chicane towards the start-finish line. The torque of the BMW should do it for Jordan Witt. He comes through and claims the honours in Class B. Stuart Clark wins overall from Ryan Bensley in 2nd place. Then it's Alex Ashby and Craig Curry in 3rd and 4th. Dan Malone is there in 5th place. And the top 6 is completed by the Class B winning car, Jordan Witt. Join us again in a few moments' time at Snetterton.